Hey everyone, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. This time I'm playing Supply Specialist with fans and Stormcallers. And my opponent, I love the name John Helldiver. Uh, he is playing Giant Specialist with Arclights and Tanks. Round one, I think I am in a slightly unfavorable position because neither of my units really counter his units. And I didn't want to play a spread out formation, knowing that my fans will get destroyed right away and my Stormcallers won't have enough time to clean the tanks and of course the rest of his units. I'm also concerned about his chaff. He could be using some, just adding some crawlers, which will really give me a bad time. Being a supply specialist, I do have an extra 50 to start off, which means I can buy things like, for example, a pair of phoenixes, or I can go with wasp, right? Some sort of air that would really help me out here. In retrospect, I probably should have went for phoenixes. That would have won me round one, but in this case I did decide to go with marksman. That I think was a slight mistake. He added 2 sets of crawlers, and those are going to be a problem for me because I won't be able to stop them. So I put a missile here, hoping to catch some, but yeah, that's round one. Is not going to look too good for me. Okay. Alright, that takes us to round two. First of all, let's take a look at the cards. Mass-produced fortresses was offered. Immediately I took it. He's already going for tanks, and I needed something to deal with the tanks. He also, yeah, tank and arc lights. Fortresses are great. I've been recently experimenting with mass-produced fortresses, and I really enjoyed it. I think it really serves a role here, especially against compositions like this. For round two, I decided to just drop some Wraith. Hopefully I can catch him off guard. I'm hoping that he did not go with any sort of air units and instead just continue out on either chaff or tanks. But I was wrong. He did go with phoenixes, which means my Wraith is not going to do anything. So let's speed this up. I think the outcome is pretty predictable here. I still have no chaff clear, so that's a big problem. These Stormcallers aren't doing anything. So there's a lot of units I need to sell in my composition in order to fix this problem. Now the question is, will I be able to fix my problem before I run out of hit points? Alright, round three. None of his cards are particularly useful for what I had in mind, so I decided to skip. For my opponents, I believe he picked the heavy armor and put it on the tanks. And that's what I would do. He's got a level 2 tank, and a heavy armor would make them even tankier. So here's the heavy armor. And in this turn, I started building up my fortresses. I wanted to add a few more fans up here, just so that my Wraith can live slightly longer. I also want to add a sniper here in case there's some phoenixes here. Now looking back, this seems a little bit futile because he went with the Overlord, being a giant specialist. I actually didn't notice that he went with mass-produced phoenixes. I suppose it makes sense because he is running the quantum reassembly. So what that allows him to do is he's going to create a lot of phoenixes, and they will essentially live on forever. They did nerf this, so before I think it used to trigger 2 times. They get to revive twice, but nowadays it's just 1 time, so making it a bit more balanced, I suppose. But with the mass-produced phoenixes is still an excellent option. All right, so big round for him. My fortresses, yes, they did some damage, but not nearly enough. And as a result, I was still getting gunned down by his air force. So I need a solid answer to air. Typhoon came up. Pick up Typhoon. I think it's just a good all-around units. One is just for air. But I think in this case, what I really need a Typhoon for is for chaff clear, because I am going with fortresses. And these guys aren't exactly great with chaff clear. I was debating between punch or anti-air barrage. I did choose punch because I noticed there's still units on the ground, and also punch can help with a bit of chaff clear. So I want to get through the units on the ground. I was really banking on the fortresses to tank the damage, while my 4 marksmen are on the ground shooting at the phoenixes as well as the overlord. My opponent did decide to go with a set of steel balls. They would be nice against my fortresses, especially now they're massively produced, so they won't be able to two-shot these level 2 steel balls. Actually, no. 9. Yep. Just shy, I think, of two-shotting these steel balls. He put a pair of phoenixes on the back. I was thinking about it. I was just not sure that... I also took a loan, so I had no money to really put units on the back here. So he got me here on the back, which is okay. It just makes it a lot more risky, because this is a huge round for him. I think another round like this, I would be out of this game. But at least for now, the path is pretty clear. I am going to go with more fortresses. I am going to add anti-air barrage to deal with his massively produced phoenixes. And now it's just a question of what can he do against this. Unicar came up. Incendiary, maybe. I decided to skip. And I don't believe the incendiary was any good for him as well, because I have a few units of chaff, but most of my units are fairly tanky. One thing that he could probably get me are those marksmen. However, my fortresses are my primary source of anti-air, so I'm not too worried about that. Added a pair of fans here, added some more fortresses. So now I'm running at 5 fortresses. The good thing about mass-produced fortresses, another side benefit, is that it can snowball very fast, right? So if you fail to kill some of these fortresses, you will end up on the other side with like 4 or 5 fortresses, and that instantly takes like half of your health point away. So this is one of the danger, because they still count as a giant unit, even though it's a weak giant unit. It still counts as 400 points. More Phoenix on this side. This side is being handled by the fans. The fortresses are doing work. The snipers are doing work. And punch is, well, clearing out everything else. Due to the sheer number of fortresses that I have, even though they're still being picked off by phoenixes, but they are definitely more than sufficient in handling the rest of the phoenixes. I need 2 more barrages, and that should be the end. And here's the tower capture. There's another barrage. There we go. So if I was my opponent at this point, I'd be worrying about dealing with like another 3 more fortresses on top of this, so to a total number of 8. What would he do? So first, let's just take a look at the board, right? He could go with more chaff. I think going with more chaff, specifically shielded fangs, would be a good idea. Anything that's not shielded would just get destroyed by my punch, as you're kind of whittling down the health point of these fortresses. Air is not good for him because of the anti-air barrage. Essentially, I'll be covering the entire sky with missiles. So air is definitely not good for him. He could go with something with high single target damage. So for example, he could probably try a melter, or you can try scorpions with acid. Scorpions with acid is risky because, again, punch. So I think 2 punches does kill a scorpion, or getting them very close to dying, and especially if the fortress is in range to do a shot or 2. So melter with range probably will help. The problem with melters, though, is they take a while to kill each one of these fortresses. So unless you have as many melters as I do fortresses, which you won't, it will take time. And by the time my fortresses really get close to you, after they clear out the chaff, the melters won't be any good. So I would really think about like what they want to do. Electromag is excellent. Any sort of electromag on units is going to be great, because the real power of these mass-produced fortresses comes from its technology, right? The units themselves are actually quite weak. I mean, sure, yes, they're still fortresses, but they're quite weak. So opponent is doing the right move, I think. Minus the shield defense. He did pick up electromag on the sledgehammers, though I would love to see something with a bit more range. Sledgehammers, they're just a little too close, right? Because my fortress can go up and shoot them, and after that, then they will have no electromag. He could try to go range if he has the money, so to kind of keep the distance. Right now, his sledgehammer is 95 meters. It's 100 meters, so my fortress outrange the sledgehammers. He could try to go range. I added 2 shield bubbles because I was expecting some sort of a Alpha Strike Melter type of play. And I wanted to, Melter especially with EMP. So I wanted to stop that before it starts. He did go with the Melter. He did go Electromag, and he also got the card for Electromag. So there's a lot of Electromag in this game here. And for me, I just went with 3 more fortresses. So, 2 more plus a set of fans to deal with the side. Look at how quickly that fortress took down the the boat. Alright, so the Melter is locking on. There we go. Here's 1 punch, here's 2 punch, and then the Melter tries to get this one. It's going to get 1 more punch, and that Melter is out. There we go. And all that remains is just a few measly phoenixes, which my snipers would take care of. I did put range on the marksman so that they can outrange the phoenixes. They're not exactly easy to kill with the quantum assembly, but with the combined force of barrage and snipers, I think I will still make short work of them. These late arriving fans are actually doing an excellent job of deflecting Phoenix firepower. So really big fan of that. Okay, going on to round 7. Now, my strategy is pretty clear. I want to go more fortresses. My opponent's strategy is also clear, so he wants to stop me before I can do anything. He picked the Sabertooth, which has, 40,000 almost per shot. And if he upgrades, he did upgrade, but if he upgrades again on the attack, he will be able to one-shot my fortresses. But for now, this is good enough because all he needs is a bit of chipping damage on his fortresses, and then he can one-shot these fortresses. So very, very strong to pick the Sabertooth. However, there is only 1 Sabertooth, which means he's got his work cut out for him. On my side, if you count, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I got 9 fortresses, and I've decided to pick up the shield. So all of a sudden is 40,000 times 9 amount of shield bubbles that my opponent will potentially have to get through. Looking at his unit composition, he simply do not have the unit. I mean, sure, the steel balls may be able to do some work on the shield bubbles, but as the steel balls come closer, he'll be under the barrage of like 7 fortresses right here, right? And sure, these are massively produced. They're weaker, but 7 fortresses is still a lot of firepower. The melting points are doing their hardest to break out a shield, and I respect that. The phoenixes on the side are taken care of. The mustangs that I pick, primarily used as chaff clear and also a bit of a chaff, are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And here are the balls, right? They're coming in. They're really trying to break down the shield. I think he will get through the first one because of these crawlers that are distracting them. But the moment he gets on the fortresses, and especially if they try to get on and get on a punch or something like that, these balls are just gonna die. And they didn't even get to kill one of my fortresses, right? And right now I still have 8 fortresses left standing against 2 melting points, 1 level 6 saber-tooth, which is going to one-shot this guy. Watch. Boom. Dead fortress. But I don't think he's going to win. I still have chaff left over. And even without the chaff, I think my punch, or just the sheer number of fortresses, is able to take the win here. So as you can see, this playstyle is actually quite strong if you have, you have to build this this far. My opponent didn't go with shield defense. I would love to see some shield defense because that would really tie up my fortresses. I wouldn't have to respond with either Stormcallers, or I would need to get a bunch of Mustangs. But either way, that's going to stall me quite a bit. Right now, I think his biggest downfall is just the lack of chaff. There's absolutely nothing in front of my fortresses. So that allows me, my fortress just walk straight in. Any units that is potentially good, for example, these sledgehammers, are just getting destroyed too quickly before they even have a chance to apply the electromag on my fortresses. So I think that's really the biggest problem. Having some fans, chaff, at the front, and that's going to stop or at least delay what I want to do. But overall, it was an excellent game, and hopefully you enjoyed this cast as much as I enjoyed playing it, and I'll see you guys next time.